like there was about 5 breaking news stories in each day that we were
Yeah.
there. So it was really nice to have Sheila Gunn Reid come out so we could tackle that from all around. But the birds are healthy and alive for, or I should say, healthy and asymptomatic for 200 and 34 days. So they're almost getting to that 250 mark. And the CFIA's cull is temporarily paused with an interim stay order. So that was a big celebration, of course, yesterday, and it allows the farmers and the supporters to take a little bit of a breather while they're there. Now it's a very temporary pause, and the CFIA gets to set the pace of that pause in the sense that it's about how long it takes for them to respond. And then once they respond, which I believe the date they have to respond by is October 2nd, then the farm has to respond within 2 days. I don't think the CFIA is going to take anywhere near that deadline with all of our tax dollars and the lawyers that they have. And the reason why I think they're going to do this as promptly as possible is the fact that they're on the property right now. They knew the farm was going to be pursuing what they're pursuing, and they tried to race them and brought all of these resources and created the task force and set up everything, knowing that at the same time, at any moment, this could happen. Just think about that for a second. The agency is racing farmers and their constitutional right to pursue an appeal in Supreme Court to the point that they know that they could be wasting all of our tax dollars, and they still did it anyway. So I don't think they're going to take very long.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I really wanted to drive home is that the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, has taken over the segment of the farm that the ostriches live on. Is that a fair way to word it?
Yes. So the farm is owned by 2 families. It's owned by Dave Belinsky, and then he has his family that lives there, and it's owned by Karen Esperson, who has her family. So the animals are more sort of on Dave's property, even though they share the herd and everything like that. So they have jurisdiction, the CFIA, under the Health of Animals Act, to remain there, to stay there, and the farmers have no access to there. However, they are not permitted to do anything to further their cull plans, which is interesting because the last time the farmers did get an interim stay as they were pursuing something in court, they were told, the CFIA was told, you cannot do the cull, but you can still keep working on, getting closer to the cull. So it is interesting that they're not allowed to set up and they're not allowed to continue to do stuff. But what we saw almost immediately after, they were told about the stay was their CFIA officers climbing on ladders to, it appears, disconnect the cameras that we've been streaming to give an over-pen view of what they've been doing there, and duct taping other cameras as well. So that seems like they're taking some initiative there that they shouldn't really be doing. Aside from feeding the animals, there really isn't anything else they should be doing right now.
Yeah, I see in one of your clips, and I don't think we need to play well, it's actually only 40 seconds. So maybe we can just throw to this clip of Katie Sidney saying how the CFIA is going about basically destroying their security cameras, which they were live streaming from. And we've been restreaming, and so many people have been watching with bated breath to see what happens to these ostriches. Maybe we can just throw to this quick little clip.
Again, this puts us, so we have video footage of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency with broom handles and knives on the end, cutting our wires on our camera that are not impeding anything. They're destroying potential evidence. They're destroying our property. And they're not doing, those cameras were not in the way. They're not doing anything. So what are they hiding? And that's what are they doing behind closed doors that are in our pens?
And they're actually destroying the cameras. They're not removing them.
Actually, they've taped over a bunch of them. They didn't. Some of them they did, but some of them they taped.
So send me any of those videos. Can you guys please email me any of those videos?
Yeah, that is just like, that is not governance anymore. That is a government gone rogue when you are starting to tamper with surveillance footage and cameras that the farm has in place for their own security reasons that arguably can't be restored very easily once they, I hope, and I will say inevitably regain control of their farm, one day. This isn't a case of a government that's acting, ethically within its bounds. This is Gestapo stuff.
Well, in so many ways, and other ways that it seems as though the CFIA isn't acting ethically is that usually farmers are actually given the opportunity, if their herd is going to be culled, to be a part of it. It's their animals, and of course some, and I'm assuming many say no, but the agency usually says, if you want to be involved, we understand that you're attached to these animals. That was never, ever given to these farmers. Instead, they were treated like criminals for bagging to be able to feed the birds the proper way and keep them in their routine up until the last moments. That's what they were continuously asking for. They're saying these birds know and love us, and they're already freaked out. The RCMP's driving their drones too low, which made them go hysteric and one injure itself. And all they were asking is for what other farmers, and they didn't know this, but other farmers have been given that opportunity to be a part of the process. And instead, it resulted in both Karen and her daughter, Katie, being arrested. So again, it is the state versus the farmers. A little interesting caveat that, you don't know while you're, recording things and then you find out after. As many of you know, we had a great supporter offer to help us with our investigating and flew us up in a helicopter. But the timing of that was actually so funny because we had just captured that Katie and Karen had been arrested. And then it just so happened that's when my dog, my mic wouldn't attach probably. So sorry about my dog if he needs his nails cut, I guess. But we had just covered how they had been arrested. And it just so happened right after that, the helicopter had landed. So from the RCMP's perspective, because we thought the farmers were being taken to a jail, but as we were up in the air, we had discovered their command station was hidden in a, nearby wooded area that's sort of shielded from the road. And so we actually hovered right over where they took the farmers. And so Katie has since told me that, they separated her and her mom in this outside area. That's some of our footage, but we actually found the command center. So the RCMP were going, that's not us. Who's us? And they're freaking out. If they're thinking, what's going on with this farm? We take the farmers, all of a sudden there's a helicopter over our operation, which was pretty funny. But we were able to see that they had the fencing that they were going to roll out. We were able to see the hay, and we were able to see that they have what appears to be holding centers over there. And then we were able to see what their plan was going to be with setting up a kill box and warn the farmers from the air. I mean, there's not a whole lot they could do, but we were also told at the farm, the CFIA agents were freaking out about the helicopter too and saying, no, that's not ours. And it's just funny because all of these things are happening so fast for the CFIA as they race these farmers, whether it be some companies backing out. The political pressure seems to be increasing immensely. And their slogan that they had from I don't know, I think back in January, I remember first hearing the phrase when I would interview them, they'd say the world is watching, and the world wasn't watching at that time, but now it really is.
By connecting job seekers to work simulation and training, Work First Alberta helps people change their story.
Glad that you brought up the political pressure element, because we have a few calls from the Conservatives who are finally speaking up, saying we're reaching out to the Agriculture Minister, Agriculture Canada, trying to get some answers on some of these things. I wanted to highlight here one from Bob Zimmer. He is Member of Parliament for Prince George Peace River in the Northern Rockies. He says, he says, Mark Carney, why won't you listen to experts in the agricultural community on the issue of culling 400 ostriches on the Universal Ostrich Farm? Livelihoods depend on their ability to raise and maintain these ostriches. The Liberal government failed to explain why this cull is necessary or why it won't retest, right? That's a key element in this story, I think. It must show Canadians why these ostriches pose a health and safety risk to humans and livestock that justifies the cull. With the stay issued by the Supreme Court of Canada, we call on the Liberal government to ensure the CFIA is following its procedures to work with the farmers to resolve this situation and protect Canadian agriculture.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
then, of course, he shares a screenshot of the CBC and their reporting, which we'll get to in a minute, how the mainstream media has really skewed to be expected, right? Skewed the reporting on all of this. But we have this one I think is a video from Mel Arnold, MP in the House of Commons from yesterday, finally bringing this issue up. I mean, the House just resumed last week, so they've been out for, the better part of this entire year, but also the summer. So maybe we can just play this quick little 1-minute clip here of Mel Arnold yesterday in the House.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, farmers love their animals and would do anything to protect them. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is planning to cull 400 ostriches in BC because of an outbreak of avian flu. When it comes to animal safety, Canadians expect due diligence and transparency. Canadians are looking to this government to explain why the cull is necessary, but the Liberal government has not posted a public update in over a month. Canadians want to know, why did the Liberal ministers not work with the agriculture sector to resolve this issue?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to make sure that this member knows that I am working very closely with the Minister of Agriculture, and the case is now in front of the court, so I won't comment more. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that we've seen that before. I should add, as far as the Conservatives go, the local Conservative MP has engaged in this issue for months. He has not been silent about this issue. His name is Scott Anderson, and he represents Vernon, Country Lake, Monashee. He's been trying to apply pressure on, of course, the Minister of Agriculture, and he's been making statements. And it seems as though he took a lot of time to actually talk to scientists before he spoke out. He spoke with Dr. Stephen Pellick with UBC. He spoke with Dr. Bridle as well, because he's not a scientist, so he wanted to understand. And he's been standing very firm and saying that this is unscientific. But I do know many people, I see it in my comments, I see it in my emails, I hear it in person when I'm at the farm. They all want to hear from Poilievre. They don't understand why he isn't up here talking about this nonpartisan issue, by the way. This is not a controversial issue. Everybody can understand that if anything had a flu 4 months ago, they certainly shouldn't be killed for it later. And as far as the statement that the most recent claims from CFIA that's come out, it's so ridiculous, Tamara. You're going to cringe when you hear this if you haven't already. Their lead veterinarian came out just before the decision, the unanimous decision to uphold the cull order in the Federal Court of Appeal. The lead veterinarian with the CFIA, of course, not impartial at all, she came out and said, upon further review of the samples that they took back in December from 2 deceased carcasses, overcycled PCR tests on 2 deceased carcasses. Based on those test samples, she's now saying today that, these birds don't just have H5N1. They have like a very extreme, rare, mutated version that is so highly infectious. And it's just ridiculous. But it's opening up people's eyes because, like I said, it's not a left or a right thing. And people are going, wait, I'm sorry, we're not retesting them? This makes no sense.
Yeah, and if it's so deadly and is so contagious, then why have they been healthy and asymptomatic for so long, right? The better part of half of a year. We're approaching a year, basically, that these animals have been otherwise healthy.
Yeah, it's like during COVID when they tried to say if we're outside and we should still stay home even if we don't have any symptoms because we could be carriers. And yeah, so maybe they think the ostriches are going to start making out with humans around them or something. I have no clue. It just
Yeah, I remember when they were having no symptoms is one of the symptoms, right?
Yeah, that was
it's that playbook all over again. Yeah. If you don't have any symptoms, that is a symptom. So everyone just make sure that you remain terrified and scared and in your house and don't leave it to do anything.
Or if you get the jab and you get an injury, that means it's working. If you die, it was working so well.
The Orwellian doublespeak is alive and well in Canada in 2025.
Yeah. We
have another one from Lauren Duerksen. He's an MLA in Caribou Chilcotin. Is that how I pronounce it correctly, Drea? I'm not sure. Anyway, so he says in his post on X, I've reached out with many questions on this topic before today, and he reached out yet again. And then he attaches the letter that he sent, basically calling on the government to justify, of course, this cull order, offer why exactly they will not just simply retest the birds, or at least a portion of them. And I really liked, I think it's the third paragraph down, where he says, this raises an important scientific and ethical question. Why would we not take the opportunity to study these birds and better understand what has enabled their survival? It is possible that they carry antibodies and other natural defenses that could contribute valuable insights in the fight against avian disease. And then, of course, he respectfully asks for more information and justification once again. And I think that's the heart of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the where you start going, even if you haven't been really paying attention to the romance between big pharma and government. You start going, do they want that science to die? Because I'm sorry, the Americans are saying they'll help fund it. They'll help fund the research. It seems like it would be a win-win. Canada could, save the world from the avian flu and COVID-19. And so all these people who are terrified and maybe still wearing masks in their car are saying, well, wait a minute, like, why are we killing them? And this story is so amazing. One man there, and I keep saying this because it was so beautiful the way he said it. He said that these ostriches represent Canadians who have had their heads buried in the sand, as ostriches sometimes do. And he's saying, and now they're looking up, just like the ostriches are looking at the CFIA, looking at the people, looking at the RCMP, and these Canadians are starting to look around and going, what's going on? Just like the ostriches, like, why is everybody paying attention to us? What's not working here? And so I think that is what's happening. And I say this certainly not to brag, but Rebel News, we are usually giving a voice for people who understand these issues that we report on are happening, they're real, they're concerns, and the mainstream media isn't covering them. But what's happening is this story is help bringing that to light. It's breaking through the echo chamber to the point that, ostriches and my first name was trending on X. That tells me people are now watching Rebel News that didn't even know Rebel News existed. And they're starting to hear about government overreach in maybe a way they never knew was happening. And I think that this story is going to have great implications when it comes to people understanding that you can't just blindly trust your government anymore and assume that it's always acting in your best interests.
By connecting businesses with qualified candidates, Work First Alberta helps employers change their story.